Hi, I'm Mark Alexander. Another question I've received is regarding property managers. The question was, do I use one and would I recommend using one? Well, the answer is yes, even though I've been a landlord for 22 years, I have used property managers and letting agents either to help me find the tenants or to let and manage the properties. One of the considerations is where the properties are. I've also managed and still do manage some of my properties myself, and my brother's also got a lettings business that manages my family's properties as well as some for other investors. So I think it's horses for courses. If you're brand new to the lettings business, then there's a lot to learn in terms of the financing, what to buy, all of the rules and regulations, and there are a couple of courses that you might want to think about going on. One is the Landlords Accreditation courses. They're run by the National Landlords Association, Midlands Landlord Accreditation Scheme, and also London Landlords Accreditation. They're very cheap courses. They charge £150 for a day's training. It's a completely non-sales based course. I've only recently come across them myself, but it's something that I intend to do. And another course that I found really useful, I only went on last month, was run by a company called Landlord Action. Again, a one-day course, very reasonably priced, no sales upsell, just the hard facts about due diligence and what to buy and what to look out for when you're using a property manager. There are all sorts of pitfalls when you start talking about not managing your own properties. You can't simply absolve yourself of the responsibilities, the legal responsibilities that you have as a landlord simply by contracting them to an agent. So for example, if the agent doesn't get the gas check done for you, that's not the agent's fault, it's you who carries the liability for that in law, especially if there's obviously something goes wrong and a tenant were to suffer as a result of that. You also can't contract out your responsibility to protect damage deposits, for example. So if a tenant hands over his deposit to a lettings agent and that letting agent subsequently goes bankrupt, depending on whether or not they've protected the deposit, even though they've had the money and you haven't, you could end up having to pay that money back. Other things that letting agents, some letting agents are obviously great and others don't know the laws themselves. So it's very, very useful to check them out with other landlords, and that's one of the reasons we created our property118.com directory, which is testimonials based, so you can see what other landlords are saying about their agents. I'll give you an example of a really bad one that I read about the other day, which is when a landlord had decided to sell his property and the managing agent, who's also an estate agent, simply let himself in with the keys, took pictures of the internals of the property without the tenant's knowledge and put them on the internet and started marketing the property for sale. Now that was obviously incredibly distressing for the tenant of that property. It's their home. There was no notice given. The property manager had no rights to be in that tenant's property, but of course it's the landlord that still has that legal responsibility to make sure that that kind of thing doesn't happen. So even though that landlord had believed that he'd contracted the management to the property manager, then the reality is he hadn't actually contracted his legal responsibilities, and if that tenant did want to serve any action for illegal entry into his property, then obviously it could be the landlord that was pursued. So I think it's really, really important to do your due diligence. Find out which property managers other landlords in the area are using. Find out what the feedback is generally. You can go to landlord associations, networking meetings, or of course use our directory on property118.com. So that's a few tips for using letting agents and property managers. There are of course thousands more, but I'm trying to keep these videos as short as possible, but I'd love to hear your comments or read your comments, so please do post them below this video. I'd like to hear about your good experiences and your bad experiences, and if you'd like to write a story for us, then you can email that to editor@property118.com. Thank you for joining me on this video, and my message as always to landlords: live long and prosper.